first guest on the show, ladies and gentlemen, Turd Nugget himself, shredding libs, Biden and the woke, and his guitar. What? Now, and you know, there's something embarrassing about a man of his rock era playing a hollow body. I've never understood it. It's a little silly, quite frankly. What are you looking for? Acoustic resonance on Wang Dang Sweet Poontang, you goofball? But the important thing is, hey man, don't you say a disparaging word about my favorite artist in the whole wide world, Turd Nugget. Turd Nugget is the shit, man. I'm not even kidding, buddy. It's just not right. I want to see what he has to play. I mean, say. Shut up and start talking. Turd, let's go, man. Oh, whoops. I clicked on y'all, folks. Get back over here. Now, play this again. Here we go. Let's do it. All right, let's see what he has to say. Oh, there's going to be an ad. Don't give him your information. Don't do it.
It can be dangerously easy to steal your identity.
Especially when your email is dannywatts@email.com.
Hey, wait! It's my stuff.
Now it's easy to help protect yourself. LifeLock helps detect identity threats. If there's a problem, we work to fix it. Backed by our $1 million protection package. Identity theft protection starts here at LifeLock.com.
This isn't my ad, just whatever. Okay.
Great to have you along for the ride. Really glad to have this man back. A great personal...
Wait a minute. He's on Joey Bag of Donuts? And on Joe Pags? Shit, I thought this was a clean clip of Ted. If they duet, I'm out.
Friend of mine, more importantly to everybody watching, listening, it is the man.
What the fuck kind of punch position is that? Ted.
Great to have you along for the ride. Really
What is this? You're allegedly a musician. You want to break your fucking fingers? What is that?
Glad to have this man back. A great personal friend of mine. More importantly to everybody watching, listening, it is the man, the myth.
Yeah, that's
the Motown.
And this business, what kind of punch was that? Why is this asshole smiling? I think is a big question. Okay, here's how it goes. It's simple as fuck. Put your fingers together. Fold them in half like that so that they hit the top of the pads of your palm right there. Roll them down and then pull your thumb in like this and lock it. That's it. That's the fist you need. And then you aim all of your focus through these two knuckles right here. See those two? The big ones? Uh-huh. And straighten your arm, you dipshit. I can even do that, and I have to roll. That finger doesn't even want to shut all the way, and I could still roll the whole fucking thing on my left. What is that? This is, I'm starting to think that MAGA isn't nearly as macho as we all thought it was. Very disappointing. Very disappointing. Turd Nugget, I'm just saying your UFC career is going to end as quickly as it started.
Madman. It's Ted Nugent, rock and roll
I'm going to guess that he cut his sleeves off and didn't punch his way out of that shirt.
Legend, board of directors of the NRA, television star, on tour.
Television star. Television. Does he mean MTV kinda? I mean, certainly during the damn Yankees phase, they were on heavy rotation. But I would say that had more to do with former members of Styx and Night Ranger.
Well into his, 70s now, Ted? Dude, you're nonstop. How are you?
You're celebrate.
He's almost exactly the age of the year he was when he dodged the draft. It's rather fun. Yeah.
Cocked, locked, and ready to rock the Glock around the clock, Dr. Spock. It's Uncle Ted reporting for duty. The mic.
Okay. I appreciate the attempted rhyme scheme. I really do. But you got some serious chat GPT misunderstanding of words going on here. Cock blocked and ready to rock?
Listening, it is the man, the myth, the Motown madman. It's Ted Nugent, rock and roll legend.
Okay, he was ever so slightly embarrassed by his own punch at that point. It's interesting.
Board of directors of the NRA, television star, on tour, well into his, 70s now, Ted? Dude, you're nonstop. How are you?
You're celebrate, cocked, locked, and ready to rock the Glock around the clock, Dr. Spock.
clock blocked around the clock and shock your jock with a rock, you flock of seagulls, bastard. Cock. I'm just saying, if you're gonna get veneers, be aware of the other teeth surrounding the ones that you are replacing. There is no shame on it. People do it all the time. It's pretty standard these days. But, I mean, there's nothing wrong with this look either. Mama, just show must go on.
Spock, it's Uncle Ted reporting for duty. The Michael Moore fan club is running for the hills looking for high feet right this minute because of my effervescence.
Michael Moore. Well, you know, I guess you got to play the oldies when you're that age.
I would love to see a debate between you and Michael Moore.
Yeah, it'd be exciting. I think we'd all, man, it would have rocked 1993.
The thing that cracked me up about Michael Moore is A, he's from Davison, which is not Flint. B, he built a...
Yeah, who gives a shit about people being poisoned in their groundwater and their drinking water? He's from like 3 miles away. Hey, Joe, fuck you.
$5 million mansion in Traverse City and treated all the union workers like crap, but then he pretends he's the common man. That's the brain numbing of the left, isn't it? They want us to believe they're one thing.
All right, citation needed. I'm not aware of Michael Moore being a dick to the people who built his house. I'm going to need to see tape.
When they're really the elitists, aren't they?
Yeah, they're so elite. They're very elite. Absolutely. They're, especially him. I mean, it's all caviar and shrimp cocktail and tiny little slices of sea bass eaten with miniature forks.
Well, I got to tell you, it's almost like Bruce Springsteen. God bless his E Street Band and his wonderful art and his wonderful music and his work ethic. But
that he kept doing and kept making great art his entire life instead of... Oh, we're not having that conversation?
God, he's about as everyman as Gene Simmons is a gargoyle. I mean, it's all smoke and mirrors.
Okay, I'm going to have to stop you for a second because a gargoyle is a mythical creature, and it is usually meant to both scare and welcome. If it's your gargoyle on your castle, your home, whatever, it's to scare off the strangers and everybody who knows that that's not really a demon perched on a piece of stone up on the top. If you know it's just a statue, you come on into the house. I think there's actually a lot of similarities. I mean, if you're going to go for Bruce Springsteen is an everyman the way he's a fighter. I don't know. And by the way, Springsteen came up in that. Again, you do get credit if you are still aware, like you grew up blue collar. If you get rich and then you don't become a complete bastard and stop talking to everyone, like he brought everyone along for the ride. That's it like everybody in the Foo Fighters is rich now, but they're still the same people they were. And this asshole is still the same prick he was in the mid-70s.
I reference the Michael Moore fan club all the time because
you don't have any newer references?
I think it's General Mark Milley is his drag queen boyfriend, and he's the he's the Joint Chiefs of Staff of the U.S. military, and Mark Milley can't even do a push-up. I don't want this guy in charge of defending my country, so I...
Okay, at a certain point, for him to, castigate somebody who actually served, considering how this fucker got out of service. And I'm gonna guess that Milley, I'd put money on this, that Milley can out-push up Ted. Guarantee it. Guarantee it. Now, obviously, Tilly's got a bit of a belly, so he probably wouldn't have to go down as far. Or Mark Milley. Yeah, Mark Milley. Why am I saying Tilly? I'm thinking Tiller the Baby Killer and my brain's frying. Yeah, Mark Milley. Thank you. Both, I'm absolutely, my money's on the actual guy who actually served, who actually went through basic, who actually continued his training, versus the guy who cosplays in. All right. Look, I'll admit. Shit, I'm going to do it right now. Here we go. Here we go. All right. I will admit to wearing form-fitting t-shirts. T-shirts that are comfortable for me, but some people like a drapier one, you know, something that doesn't, you know, cling to the bicep and around the arm, whatever. Okay. And there's mockery and respect on vacillating across the entire spectrum of people who are fashion policing every person they're around. That said, I am aware that while I can stretch these sleeves, I'm not blowing them out. And then if I ever cut the sleeves off of a shirt or something like that, I cut the whole thing because it's really about air. It's like, okay, I gotta kind of wear a shirt and I don't have a tank top and I'd rather have one. So I'm gonna cut the sleeves off a t-shirt and make a poor man's tank top. That's as far as I go. But I have to say, there are some particularly dickish fashion choices in the world that aggravate me. And I have arms so mighty, I blew the sleeves off my shirt cut bugs the living shit out of me. And especially when you're like wearing camo, pretending to be a badass, punching like a fucking rabbit, and making fun of a currently serving member of the military who has done his duty for his country his entire life. Like, I don't even have to like Mark Milley. I think some of his decisions are bad. But I also think that's the point of disagreement. I don't have to agree with all of them. I would hope there would be disagreement in it, because you don't want 9 people around you all that only come up with the same idea you would. Otherwise, you breed in weakness, right? But the fact that this prick is always wearing this, oh my God, my biceps were so big, my sleeves literally exploded shirts, is so fucking lame. Don't get me started on what this Joey Pag shirt situation is.
Reference them.
All I know is it's a boy.
Michael Moore fan club as everything wrong, stupid, overweight, irresponsible, and unhygienic.
Both of you stink. Both of you are overweight. Neither of you are fit. Simmer the fuck down.
It's Ted Nugent. Go to tednugent.com.
You sure we should go to michaelmoorefanclub.com?
He's on Real America's Voice. He's doing campfires every night. Shemaine has a great, your wife, Shemaine Nugent, has a great show too. She's doing great on that. I watched it the other day.
Yeah, she's actually entertaining, I hear. I don't know. She actually says stuff worth hearing or whatever. I mean, your show, blah, blah, blah. I mean, you're obviously Ted Nugget and whatever. But your wife, man, I've been watching your wife's show. It's not Real America's Voice. Is it only something? I don't remember.
And the Nuge Vault is opening on April 22nd. We'll get into it.
The Nuge Vault. Dude just makes fun of Gene Simmons and then is selling the vault. Because if you don't know, Gene Simmons does a thing with the Kiss Vault. Hold on 1 second. I'll show you. Gene Simmons Vault. And yes, if you're looking for a perfect gift idea for me, that's probably it. I'm not kidding. This is old though. He was doing this in 2020, and obviously bad timing on when to do it. But there's this vault, literally. Look at this thing. And Gene will visit you, drop the fucking thing off. It's got unreleased songs and music and memorabilia and stuff like that. What's in the vault? Let's look. There he is. Hey, this is Gene Simmons. I'm basically a gargoyle. And then fan photos. These are people who actually came and got the vault. There you go. And you get pictures with Gene, and you can talk to him and all that kind of stuff. And there you go. So yeah, oops, sorry. Here it comes back in. There it is. There's the vault. It's an actual, and you're like, it's actually heavy, right? Yeah, because it is. It's a quality item. Anyways, the point being is that this dickhead shits on Gene and then is basically ripping off the concept.
Exactly what that is coming up. But I love that you brought up Bruce Springsteen, because Stevie Van Zandt the other day came out. Here's a guy that I didn't know that he was in the E Street Band. Can I be honest with you? I had no clue.
Really? That's odd to me. It seems like you're completely up on pop culture. I mean, you obviously know. Name a Ted Nugent song, Joe. One. I'm not kidding. How many people actually think that this fucker could name a single, like, you think he even knows, like, Don't Tread on Me, the worst track on the damn Yankees album, which was an embarrassing salute to the future maggots of the world? Literally wrote that song based on the concept of the Gadsden flag. Like, ugh. There's no fucking way. Joe, what band was he in before he went solo? Anybody, like, for fuck's sake. Like, yeah. There is a slight chance Joe Pags might know cat scratch fever. He might not know it's about gonorrhea, but he'll probably know the name. But that's it. That's the depth of his understanding. So the idea that he doesn't know who's in the E Street Band and what they play is shocking to fucking nobody.
I knew him from The Sopranos. And here's a guy that made his living and made his millions.
That seems a little racist there. You only watch Italian stuff for Italians? I see. All right, what are you, ILM over there? Italian Lives Matter? I see.
On glorifying shooting people and being a bad guy on the screen. In fact, today, he's still in some show, I don't know the name of the show, where he's carrying around a gun.
You know, I don't know what band he's in. I don't know what show he's on. He's on the, like,
gun everywhere. And he goes after you and me and anybody who believes in the Second Amendment the other day.
No, I'm guessing it's not the believing in the Second Amendment part. I think it's the inability to recognize you can curtail certain weapons from public use for the safety of the general citizenry, so the rest of us can get on with our fucking lives, you tool. And that if you can't hit where you're shooting at in less than 6 shots, you're probably trying to kill police officers and soldiers. Anyways, where were we? Oh, we were talking to Turd Nugget over here and Joey Bag of Donuts.
On Twitter. Ted, why do they do that? Just to feel better about themselves? Why say something when you know you've made your money on glorifying it?
Hold on. This has been so long. So much has happened.
Glorifying shooting people.
Oh, okay. This is because Van Zant came out against mass shootings or doesn't think that there should be fucking machine guns in the streets. Piss off. And
being a bad guy on the screen. In fact, today, he's still in some show, I don't know the name of the show, where he's carrying around a gun everywhere. And
yeah, because he's a villain.
He goes after you and me and anybody.
Okay. Oh, and these guys are loud. I'm sorry. I'll cut that down. Beg your pardon.
Who believes in the Second Amendment the other day on Twitter. Ted, why do they do that? Just to feel better about themselves?
Yeah, why do they do that? I mean, it can't be because they see kids getting killed and get upset about it. Who the fuck does that?
Why say something?
Why you say something just because 3 Christian children have been murdered and the administrator of the school and a teacher and a janitorial worker were all murdered by a nutcase? And why would you even care? Why would you even bother? I mean, it's, what do you get? What, are you upset?
You know you've made your money on glorifying it.
Oh, that's right. By the way, if this asshole is now coming out against shows like The Sopranos, which he obviously is a fan of, and like gun-oriented action movies or some shit, where guys are playing cops or villains, I would argue, here's what I would argue. Where's the open carry good guy with a gun story that doesn't turn into like a vigilante nightmare?
Be very careful, my friend Joe Pags. I know you respect your elders, so here's some wisdom from 75 years clean and sober. Don't try to find logic and don't ask the question why, because you'll have an aneurysm. Because from the left, there's no sense. There's no reason. There's no logic. They have no evidence to support their insanity. So
yeah, none whatsoever. I have no evidence that if someone has to reload after 6 shots, somebody might have a chance at taking them down versus a 60-round fucking magazine or 2 30-round mags duct taped to fucking together that they're walking towards a school with a gun in the fucking stool position, and because of these open carry bastards, if anybody walks up and says, "Hey buddy, where are you going?" that's a violation of their Second Amendment rights.
Let me make the comment about little Steven. Number one, I love you, little Steven. He's not very little anymore. He should probably change his diet. I'll get you some venison if you'd like, because you got to reduce your garbage patrol. Anyhow, I salute him because he comes from the same school of pure American rhythm and blues: Chuck Berry, Bo Diddley, Little Richard, Motown. In fact,
what are you just listing shit you stole from black people? Yeah, I'm sorry. You don't have any white music heroes? What?
E Street Band performed Jenny Take a Ride by the incredible Mitch Ryder and the Detroit Wheels. So we have this musical bond, but when he
You were a fill-in on that, fucker.
comes out and says things that he wants to exterminate people who support the greatest president, and the reason he's the greatest president is because
did Van Zandt say he wants to exterminate Trump supporters? Just murder them?
we had energy dominance.
By the way, if he said that, I'm against that, technically, just for the record.
That's great.
You know it would be good, and I don't know who the fuck am I to bring this up, and I'm not going to do any work for Joey Pags here. He can, if you're going to reference something like this, maybe show it. I don't know. You can do lower thirds. And they don't even have to make sense. You're capable. Rock and roll legend. The only thing that's legendary, genuinely, and I genuinely mean this, the only thing legendary about this asshole is the fact that he stuck a fucking candy bar down the back of his pants and pretended that he ate diarrhea so that he wouldn't have to go to Vietnam. That's the legend of Ted Nugent. The rest of it is just music. It's pedestrian and largely derivative. Some of it's fun, and if he'd had just stayed in that kind of mental zone and not turned into an absolute asshole, you might still be able to enjoy it. But he is categorically in the people. I would never tell anybody to shut up and sing or shut up and play, but it is clear it would have helped him had he done that, not because of his political beliefs, but because of his egotistical idea of the value of those beliefs. He took the ego that got him on stage and the ego that made him a known player, and he laid that over into some sort of like weekend warrior militia member bullshitter.
We had secure borders. That's great. We had the lowest crime rate.
We had COVID, fuckhead.
That's great.
Yes, a pandemic where everyone stayed indoors, including people in Mexico and Guatemala and Venezuela, because they were afraid to pass through a country that had more cases of COVID than they did, lowered the immigration rate. No question.
We got out of global contracts where we had to pay for the pollution of China, India, Vietnam, and Pakistan. That's great.
How? What he means, I think he means the Paris Accord. I've read the Paris Accord on my live stream to you guys. First of all, he's never read it. There's no fucking way. He wouldn't bother. But if he had, and that's what he came away with, he's dumber than I thought.
He had the lowest unemployment of all demographics in him. I got to tell you, when
no, he didn't.
These guys attack conservatives, if you want your plumbing fixed, you're going to call a redneck. If you want your foundation secured on your house, you're going to call a redneck. If you want your truck worked or your electric car before the lithium battery kills you, if you want anything done in your life, you're going to probably call a Ted Nugent redneck conservative. I couldn't be more proud. So what we've got here,
who, by the way, in voting for Donald Trump, voted against their own interests on a myriad of issues, especially when it comes to their wages and their safety, the general safety.
Is every time the left opens their insane mouth, you've got the idiot.
Yes, it's that Marjorie Taylor Greene. She's just is that hoop theory or horseshoe theory? I don't know. She's so far right. She's left.
Don't know that
the building
comfortably numb is actually uncomfortably dumb.
Yeah.
So, Stephen, I'd love.
Really?
to have you on my show. We could talk Chuck Berry and great guitar licks, and obviously I've got most of them. But he's gone off the cliff, just like Bruce and Bon Jovi and some of these artists out there that condemn the system by which they have enriched and succeeded in their American dream. Don't ask why. It's too bizarre.
The fuck are you talking about? The economy does better under Democrats. Always has. So every time this asshole shits on a Democrat, he's doing precisely that, because Ted Nugent has made his entire fucking life, as have I, on people's leftover money. There is a self-serving reason why artists in particular, especially people who perform live, want you to have a little more money in your pocket, because they would like you to have the option to spend a little money entertaining yourself and spend that money on them. We are not a necessity. I feel, in my heart, that music is necessary. But you can stay home and listen to that LP over and fucking over again. You don't have to go see them live. You want that person to have extra money in their pocket, have a little bit of cushion so that they, at the very least, so that they can entertain themselves and their family or their loved ones or their date or whatever on some point. And this fucker has lived on that entire system. And every time Americans have a little bit more, the mass of Americans, I don't mean the upper 12%, I mean the middle fucking class, this motherfucker has skated on the grease of the extra cash that middle America has gotten because of union jobs and Democrats working very hard to secure that for them. The disgruntled assholes who go see him at the state fair for free, for the record, for free, are not part of that system. Not at that moment. They're spending that extra grease on grease, actually. They're eating elephant ears and
to try to find logic.
I think that's great advice. I ask why a lot, and it does give me what feels like an aneurysm. What it's brought out to me, and my response to Van Zandt on Twitter was, every movie set, every TV show set, every concert hall has been protected by good guys with guns, and thank God. I want you to...
Yeah, but people who are either licensed to carry them, specifically, have gone through training courses, and are tasked with that job that will cost them their livelihood if they don't do it. They don't have the option of not doing it. It's their fucking job. And in the case of police officers, that is true, and they've taken an oath. That is not the same as this motherfucker or you. Which neither one of these assholes has done either. This fucker thinks because he has a Gadsden flag hanging on his property, that makes him more American than somebody who only has the American flag. Fuck off. Same thing with Joey Pags. You're not a good guy with a gun. You're a guy with a gun who's running away, firing over his fucking shoulder, because his only point for being in that situation and armed is to save himself. Are there people who conceal carry or who will, fire back against someone who is violent? And there have been several situations. Absolutely. Are there people who have guns to defend themselves? Absolutely. But don't think for a fucking second that there's a hypocrisy to armed guards at a giant event with thousands of people, especially post 9/11 or the fucking Boston bombing or any of that shit. The idea that somehow that's hypocrisy, because the rest of us would like that the only people that show up with guns at the whole fucking concert so we can enjoy our fucking self are the people that are paid by the venue to carry them in case some dickhead brings one apropos of fucking nothing or tries to shoot at the fucking place from a casino across the road.
Be protected when you're out there performing. But our kids shouldn't have that in school. And I shouldn't have...
Okay, first of all, in school, no. If you want to have a guard around your school because your neighborhood is shit and you don't trust your neighbors and that's an ongoing issue, I would argue that better cameras and better security on the doors in particular, if you're going to have, if we update schools, bulletproof glass is not a bad idea, especially on the interlocking double doors that go in. One set being that you could save money on it. You're not going to need both. Save on one. Make the outer door that way, the inner door regular safety glass. That's something America could do for all of its schools if you're really worried about that. Fine, knock yourself the fuck out. But having a gun in the teacher's fucking desk or on their fucking hip, I'm telling you, I knew at least 5 kids in high school who would have had that gun by sundown.
At my house to protect my family. That's what doesn't.
And by the way, nobody's asking you to stop having a gun at your house to protect your family. And if you have to fire more than 13 shots to protect your fucking family, you either are, your friends know you hide money in the basement like John fucking Wick, or you're trying to kill cops because you're pulling your own Ruby Ridge.
Makes sense to me, and I do try to find logic, but I think your advice is great because I'm going to end up killing myself if I keep on trying to bring them to the light. He knows how he lives, that he's safe. He knows that. He just wants to tweet something to look like he fits in or something.
Yeah, he's just trying to fit in after all this time. That's what he wants.
And he owns guns.
Imagine that.
Right. And he feels safe with those guns, and he is trained on those guns, and he can carry those guns. And in television shows, he's worked with the armor on the set. He's been checked out on a bunch of different weapons. He knows how to use them, and he's aware of the damage that they can do, so that he doesn't want them just loose all over the fucking street. What's the problem?
It makes no sense. But let me comment on a couple of those important topics. Because I'm in
chime in, Ted. Chime in.
Touch with great families every day, cops and teachers and military heroes and hardware stores.
Yeah, all the people that you are clamoring on about want to kill.
Operators and energy barons and mechanics.
Energy barons. He's talking about like doing private shows for oil baron redneck assholes.
All the important people,
Texas.
People in my life, just down to earth, hard working, hard playing, hard rocking families that are in the asset column because of work ethic, dedication, and making sacrifices to be in that asset column. The border is open by the United States government to facilitate and actually welcome the chemical warfare by the communist Chinese fentanyl gang.
Right.
There you go. And do you hear that? Joy Pag saying right at the end of that? Listen to this shit.
By the United States government.
So the U.S. government is facilitating a chemical attack on the American people. That's why they're leaving the border open. Not negligence is why the border is open. They're doing it on purpose to murder Americans. The U.S. government, this is turd nugget over here. The U.S. government is intentionally engaged in a chemical war against its own citizens. By the way, at random. Because obviously they're not, they're not directing them to red states in particular or blue states in particular. They just, wherever it ends up, whoever it kills, it kills. Think about, he's saying this. There is this is one of the most shallow thinking human beings on the fucking planet. So there's no depth to this thought at all.
To facilitate and actually welcome.
To facilitate and welcome. So not only are they doing it, they're actively engaged in it, but they're doing it with a big smile on their face. They're murdering American citizens on purpose by shoveling fentanyl into the country across the board. Now, who thinks that the U.S. government, if there was a plot within the U.S. government to kill off a certain chunk of the American populace through chemical means using a popular drug, that they would even have to smuggle it the fuck in? The precursors for fentanyl are made in China as we get it right now, but they're also made in Arizona. Why the shit would the U.S. one pill, could kill 3 people, even diluted? Why bother?
The chemical warfare by the communist Chinese fentanyl gang, as brought about by the Mexican drug cartel to kill hundreds of millions of Americans by
hundreds of millions.
The pharmaceutical industry.
By the pharmaceutical industry. So the pharmaceutical industry, via the Mexican drug cartels, through China, and with the help and support and big smile of the U.S. government, is trying to kill hundreds of millions of Americans. Now, here's my question. Certainly saying something like this is indicative of a disgusting disdain for human life, and that this man realizes that were anyone to take his words seriously, it would have to involve them just killing any government worker they came across, because it would have to be a top-to-tails organization. No matter who they were in the government, they're participating. The U.S. government is facilitating this. So anybody who didn't stop it, anybody who, works around it, anybody in the Department of Transportation that fucking fixes the road so the fentanyl can reach Montana or whatever the shit he's arguing. If you would have to care so little about human life to say this out loud, knowing full well that if, somebody who took your word seriously might act on those things, because if they believed it, how do you not? Which brings me to my second point. If you actually believe this shit on this scale, and this goes for Alex Jones and all these bastards, if you actually believe this, how are you not storming places with machine guns and groups of people and killing people all the time or whatever? I mean, this is, it goes to the QAnon people. It's one of the reasons why you can tell the QAnon folks are blazingly full of shit, is because the allegations about the people they're talking about are so extraordinary that if you didn't do something about it and you really believed it, you're evil and helping it happen. Now, between you and I, he's bullshitting. Look at his fucking face. He's doing a book report on a book he's never even seen.
And the communist Chinese chemical warfare scourge that is authorized by Uncle Sam.
Authorized by Uncle Sam. He's on a network called Real America's Voice.
Joe, my heart is broken. So the bottom line is that conservatives stand for an experiment in self-government, where unfortunately not enough conservatives are experimenting in self-government, and we let the liberals and the communists and the
You don't have self-government. You have self-governance. The biggest concern right now that Americans have, and I'm done with these dickheads. It's a waste of time. The biggest concern that Americans have right now is not a tyrannical government. It isn't. That's not your big worry. Your big worry is the tyrant next door. Is somebody who believes this shit, like the crap that Ted is flogging around, and goes, it's my way or the highway, and they got enough ammo to carry it out on their block or at their old job or on a fucking bus or a school. I'm not worried about government tyranny at this point. There are enough checks and balances to deal with it. And the society, there's enough human beings in this country where any kind of bigger act of tyranny, even with the limitations during COVID, still people were out and about. We never had a moment like the UK or the Australia even trying it. We certainly didn't have a zero COVID policy where people were welded into their apartment. It's a cartoon to even think so. And there's enough people in this country that wouldn't go along with it that it just won't happen. Almost everybody. That's not the fear. We have recourse in this country, and he fucking knows it. What you don't have recourse against right now as an American citizen is some fucking lunatic deciding that it's time for everybody to know how important they fucking are in their giant act of ego for political or sexual, incel grounds. And so they're going to show the world who the real boss is. And so when they decide to do it, instead of having a knife and a handgun or a fucking revolver with 6 shots in it, 5 for their victims and 1 for themselves, they can now, because of fuckheads like Ted Nugent and his ilk, go out with 2 AR-15s with multiple magazines, fucking in a belt, a magazine belt they can wear around their waist that they bought on fucking Amazon, with as much ammunition as they can possibly stockpile, and no one can ever even fucking knock on their door and go, hey, what's that for? because these assholes will sue the government and the mayor's life will be in danger, and the fucking judge or anybody who made the fucking phone call will now make the hit list. So everybody's scared of these dickheads. That's the tyranny. It's not a tyrannical government. It's the tyrannical self-governance of Turd Nuggets friends. The rest of us are just getting on with our fucking lives. Good Lord.